I love the introduction you do on your about your community, that you don't call yourself a company, but you
Mhm.
guys are doing like a community job, because you go, and that's what I'm interested in about. What was the philosophy behind the story of QueOnda Cafe? Because for me, you going beyond what most people do, like just, I'm sourcing directly. Yes, I get to know them. I spend 2 3 days with them. I think you are experimenting everything that people know that happens in a farm, and small farm, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I work only with small farms, which is not easy because the majority is smallholders. We have this in common. I really care about climate change. I think it's 100% real, and it's very important we start talking more about it, because people don't really talk a lot about it. So for me, when I moved to Mexico with a different project, and then it shifted to coffee, and I quickly realized that small coffee producers are doing so much work to protect our biodiversity, our ecosystem. They work so hard to preserve it all, and it's not being seen, it's not being recognized, and then they are underpaid. So for me, it was like, no, I need to do something about this. I felt like really connected to all the communities I had the opportunity to connect with. I speak fluent Spanish, so it was really easy for me. I kind of felt straight away one of them, because they care. They see that they have longer dry seasons now, or they have rains when they shouldn't have rains. So it directly affects them. And I was like, I have to help these people. I can't just stay quiet. I can't ignore it. I have to do something about it. So that's my main motivation. And then I fell in love with whole process. So doing the work at the farms, making the compostas and all that, then processing the coffees and drying. I was like, I need to know everything about it, because I want to understand everything. I want to understand all the struggles. The producers were laughing. They were like, wow, you can hide, you can track. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like in Europe, we do like go and walk
Yeah.
in the mountains. I don't know why producers think that like white people don't really go and hike. And so that was really funny to find out. But then they quickly realized, I was like, I'm gonna go pick up coffee with you, and they were like, wow, okay. So I went pick up coffee with them, and only by doing full-time job as they do it, you can truly understand like how their life is. Eating the same food, talking about what they talking, seeing what's happening in the community, seeing how much work they have with other crops, work for the communities, because a lot of this like small communities, they work for the community, and it's not paid job, but you have to do it to be a part of community. And I think it's amazing, because it's usually those communities are very safe place. Kids can just go and play, and everyone knows nothing will happen, because everyone knows each other, everyone works together, and it's truly a magical place to be. And I always feel like it's changing my mind. I sometimes share this information with my friends. You can cut it later if it's not appropriate, but I never took ayahuasca, but I feel like it's a little bit like taking ayahuasca, when you like start realizing like, wow, life isn't about just consuming and making money. Life is to like love people and help each other. So yeah, it's
I think
very
I
beautiful.
think I've done it maybe 10 times already. I don't do it anymore, but still not so often, because I'm not in Latin America. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I'm glad that see we connected because of so many things. So, what's your point? What's your take on post-harvest processing? How important do you think it is? I know you are very into that, and I've seen your job, and you guys are taking just not the product but the stories to back to Europe, which is your main market, I think. And but
Yes.
how post-harvest processing you think it is to preserve or to improve quality? I don't know what your concept is about it.
It's very important. Drying is also very important, and of course, there has been many studies saying that it improves quality cups. So I do believe, and we doing a lot of experiments about processing. I like to make things actually easier for the producers. And I always tell them, okay, when I come, it's not, I'm gonna try to make things easier, not more difficult, because I might be taking a lot of measurements like pH, temperature. They always see me taking notes, hour, whatever. And I'm like, don't worry, we can come up with some sort of protocol that's easy for you, makes your life easier, and the coffee is delicious. So I think that's always the priority. We'll see, because I worked this year with a producer in Santo Domingo, Cacalotepec. Her coffee last year with very little processing was already 85 because they did selected harvesting. It's so really, really clean coffee. And this year we added the processing, submerged processing and dry. We did few experiments, and and we'll see if it works out. But I still need to wait a little bit. I already capped the first samples, but you know, when they fresh, I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell, but the coffee needs a little bit to rest. So I think with processing, you can for sure improve the cup quality. And the same drying, it's very important. And I realized this year too, because I fell in love with it, and I was like there like a little kid wanting a candies, you know. It's like looking and measuring the humidity, not only of the coffee but also the ambient
Yeah.
humidity, every, you know, temperature. So I learned a lot this year about drying.
Based on your experience, what's the profiles that maybe buyers are looking for?
Oh, that's actually a very difficult question. When I started exporting coffee, I was told, export wash coffee, you will sell it. I was like, okay, well, makes sense, no? Like
Yeah.
wash coffee. And then I quickly realized a lot of people wanted naturals.
Yeah.
Maybe people I was connecting with. It's always really tricky, and of course there is trends. I feel like for every country and even every place in itself in a country, it's a bit different, and the rosters are different. They have different objectives. They have different markets. I connected with rosters that they buy a lot of naturals, but also I connected with rosters that are mainly interested in washed coffees. That's very difficult question. I think you find everything. I work with rosters that they very excited about thermal shocks and yeast fermentations. But then I have rosters, French rosters that they like, I just want 85. Well, I don't really believe in scores, to be honest, but
Agree.
unfortunately, it is in the coffee industry that we have those scores, and they're like, oh, I just want a clean 85, and I'm like, okay.
Well, do you know what they say? A good coffee always you can find a customer for. You know, you can find a roaster for. And still I find not little people obsessed with flavors and processes and uh, maybe funky things. And I was just talking to colleagues this weekend, and we I asked them, "What do you think people might like?" I mean, ordinary consumers, they're not too open to these kind of coffees with different variations, and who are we to tell them what to drink? Yeah, and I
Exactly.
agree with you. I'm still a Q grader, but I said let's not talk about points. Let's talk about attributes, and let's talk about stories behind the production of the coffee itself. So, but I still find very complicated to meet my other end in terms of like this is, and we do this, because we are very passionate about it, and maybe we are so little. There must be somebody on the other side that would understand what you're trying to do, because there's another word that you have very clear in your profile, which is sustainable. uh,
Yeah.
and and that's not many people paying attention. Everybody talks about that. Everybody says sustainable because it's a fancy word, and not many people even understand what it means. Sometimes we think that sustainable means that we're going to get some good earnings from coffee, and it's not like that. So, and I think you are in a good path in terms of like you need to keep doing what you believed in, and you will find your customers.
I also had very clear that I want a supply chain to be stable. Like I want everyone to feel good. And at the moment, I feel that no one is feeling really good. I try to talk more about with roasters located in London, which is I think a lot of people are struggling because they have to put the prices up. Some roasters that have been long on the market, they doing very well because they have long relationships. They had time to build the trust, while young companies, young roasters, I feel they might struggle a little bit more. So let's make the whole supply chain stable. Let's and transparent. Let's just feel good. I know it's easy to say, but we need to communicate more. We started to talk a lot about what's happening at the origins, that we have the climate change affecting us strongly, but we need roasters also to start talking, hey, we're struggling with this and that. I think it's time also for roasters to be like a little bit more open about that. Yeah.
Coffee producers, you've been aware of because you've been experimenting this, and you talk about corn and Mexican
Oh,
corn
yeah.
and Peruvian corn. Latin America in general, it's a very the core of the food for families, and it's not just colorful. It represents culture. So
Yeah.
adding other concepts from agricultural cultures in these regions to the concept of coffee or specialty coffee is quite interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and well, that comes from, when I go and I stay with the producers, I eat the same as they eat. I drink the same as they drink, and I sew like, and I make tortillas. I have proof. I have photos of me making tortillas from scratch,
Yeah.
and I know how important this is and how beautiful it is, and I know the difference between native corn and modified corn. And I'll tell you, one is super delicious and the other one is disgusting. And I don't want the delicious corn to disappear. So one thing is that, of course, native corn is a symbol of culture, history of Mexican Pueblo. And it's very corn for me, it's also like a symbol of resistance, because a lot of coffee producers, they still do the whole process of doing the tortillas a mano,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
hand,
yeah.
you know. And they do the whole process. Well, in cities, even in Mexican cities, you already have
The
already
supermarket.
made tortillas. Yeah, the supermarket. So it can disappear. It's just a part, it's a part of culture. And for me, it's just absurd that some other country, because it has a bigger economic power, can decide that other country has to have this type of
Genetic modifications, yes.
that's it.
Hmm.
It's absurd. Like, why? It shouldn't work that way. Mexicans want their corn. They wanna consume their corn, and I think that's very important.
There's one thing that you mentioned at the beginning. It was like climate change, and also like sustainable. It seems to be like in just a word you experimented. It's like whether it's dry or it's too much rain during harvest times. How coffee producers are taking these changes in nature? Do they do something about to contribute there in on their side?
Well, they do a lot by already, planting more trees and not deforesting. I'm obviously talking about the producers I work with. I can't talk about the whole coffee industry because it
Yeah, yeah,
unfortunately happen that way. There's still places they sacrifice ecosystems to have commercial farming, which is really sad. But producers I work with, they take care of their forests by planting more fruit trees, and
mhm,
then the birds have food.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
it was very surprising for me, because the producers, they don't get angry that the birds come and eat the coffee cherries and or bananas or whatever
yeah,
fruits they have at their farm. They usually like, yeah, we provide food for animals,
yeah.
and they feel great about it, and I'm always amazed. I'm like, probably other people would be like angry that some animal is destroying their crop or stuff, and they're like, no, it's okay. It's just, few bananas, few cherries that doesn't we happy to aliment the animals. So they create a house for a lot of animals, and they protect waters. They take care of waters that they stay clean. Um, and most important of, they don't contaminate.
Yeah.
They don't kind of contaminate, which unfortunately happens a lot in the global north.
When are you bringing your next source lots to Europe?
And this year I'm opening to a market in Poland, to roasters in Poland. I met a lot of amazing people. I feel like the market in Poland is very aware, knows a lot, it's very interested, wants to know a lot of details. I like that about I really like about roasters that ask questions, want to know, they're curious. And I have a friend in the UK that's worth mentioning, Pravin from Sunday Coffee Roastery, and he always asks me everything, like no filter. He is so curious, and I love that about him. So one thing that I could wish for myself is more roasters like that, asking a lot of questions, and that's what I find in Poland, that people are very curious and want to know. So I'm very excited. I'll spend some time in Poland with coffee samples and doing tappings, and yeah, it's
Oh,
gonna be nice.
that's a good thing. And so this is from this harvest season that just finished.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, because I think soon, well, maybe not very soon, but at some point in Europe, we won't have good coffee. I already this year started selling coffee processed by me here in Mexico.
Great.
So so much good coffee staying in Mexico, and there's a big market for it, and people want to drink good coffee here in Mexico. I saw this happening also slowly in Peru as well. So I think there will be time where in Europe will be really hard to find good coffee, which is gonna be the opposite that they used to.
Yes. Yeah. How people can find you?
Well, I have a website which is just QueOnda.coffee.
Yeah.
And the same on Instagram. We are
Great.
QueOnda.coffee.
We're gonna
So
add that here during the video, and people will contact you if they want to, or they want to ask further questions. So thank you again for your time, and I wish you well.